Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. It means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Out the work week in the rearview mirror. Hope you're done. If not, we'll get you to the finish line here. Got Jordan Kitchens and the birthday girl, Cassie Spazzali, back there on the ones and twos. Plenty to do here on the next 2 hours. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com with us in 15 minutes. We'll do a little bit more Lane Kiffin sound from back on Wednesday. I haven't quite gotten through all of that. I want to touch on that a little bit. I got prop bets for the Super Bowl coming up. I've also got a pick for the Super Bowl. We'll preview center field. You probably heard of that guy for LSU coming up a week from today. Opening day at the box. LSU will play Georgia coming up tomorrow in the PMAC. So plenty to do. Let's crank it up with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
So yesterday, I misspoke. We were talking about the Saints and the celebration of Drew Brees very likely being elected to Pro Football's Hall of Fame, right? And that ended up happening. But yesterday was just kind of the precursor to it. And I said, Saints fans, rejoice when Drew gets that call. And I know that you're looking for the next Drew Brees, but enjoy what was as you feel like you've got some confidence in Tyler Shuck. And right there, I stepped out of bounds. Because, yes, the 49ers had Joe Montana and went to Steve Young, and the Super Bowls continued. And the Packers had Brett Favre, and they went to Aaron Rodgers, and they backed up Hall of Fame quarterbacks. The Colts had such a great run with Peyton Manning, and Andrew Luck fell right into their lap. We know about Tom Brady in New England, and New England's right back in the Super Bowl with Drake May, and they've got a lot of confidence. You always want to find the next franchise quarterback. I should not have tried to say the Saints are looking for their next Drew Brees, because let's make no mistake about this. There will never be another Drew Brees. Never. The Saints may have a quarterback that's better than Drew Brees. I wouldn't bet on it, but it's possible. There will never be another Drew Brees. You know the story. You know what happened. But it's worth just kind of going through once again now that he's become a first ballot Hall of Famer, the first in the history of the franchise. But this is a guy who played 5 years in San Diego. And then entering his free agency, suffers a brutal injury. That is a nightmare for a professional athlete. And then he wants to test the market, and he goes to Miami. Nick Saban's there. Got a chance for a fresh start with a hotshot young coach. And they fail his medical. He's out of options. This guy nobody's ever heard of, Sean Payton, calls, says, hey, come to New Orleans. Sean Payton knows on this visit to New Orleans that he's going to have to protect Drew Brees from what this entire city looks like. And unfortunately, turns out, fortunately, he got lost. Didn't have the iPhone on the ready. Ended up where he did not want to be. And Drew Brees saw with his own eyes what you all know was there in 2005, 2006. It was a wreck. And Sean Payton stopped, and he just basically broke down and said, look, this is about bigger things than football. This is where you need to be. I'm where I need to be. Let's do this together. In 197 days after Katrina wrecked that city, one of the greatest cities in this nation, Drew Brees signed with the Saints on March 14th, 2006. And he didn't save New Orleans. Drew Brees and Sean Payton did not save New Orleans. the people of New Orleans went back, rebuilt, and got back to work and brought that city back to life. But the Saints helped. And Drew Brees and Sean Payton were the singular driving forces behind that. I mean, look at the landscape of the world right now. Look at the scape of the country right now and how divisive things can be in certain places. But man, look at that city when the Saints are humming. Most of you have been there. The two people that are sitting behind those two desks right there are from that city and have been there. When the Saints are good, it's a different place down there. And at that point, New Orleans needed it. They needed it. They didn't have to have it. They needed it. And it was delivered. 313 days after Drew Brees signed with New Orleans in a city that was rubble, the Saints played for the NFC title. 313 days. Now, we know the rest of that story. And 3 years later, the Saints hoist the Lombardi Trophy for the first time in franchise history. And I could sit there and read you the Pro Football Reference page of all of Drew Brees' stats and records and accomplishments and all that stuff. You already know it all. But the important thing is that you realize that there will never be another set of circumstances just like that in a story that unfolds like that. It's like a movie that we sat here and watched with our own eyes. Now, I don't ever try to hide this. I'm not in the foxhole with you Saints fans every single Sunday. I'm not going to fake that. I would prefer the Saints win. I'm not throwing on my black and gold jersey. If it's the third quarter and it's a one-score game and Myers wants to go outside and throw the football or go down the slide, I'm going to go do that. I'm not in the foxhole. But I'm a lifelong resident of this state. I've now lived in Baton Rouge in South Louisiana longer than I have North Louisiana, but I've never left this state. I'm never leaving this state. And while I love my childhood in Shreveport and I will raise my family in Baton Rouge, I understand the significance of that city to this state. It is the heartbeat. And I love that city. And that city, when I was a senior in high school, underwent something that I don't think any of New Orleans was prepared for. I didn't have a great feel for it up in Shreveport as an 18-year-old. I do now. But what Drew Brees meant at that point and what he delivered for the next decade and a half is never going to happen again in that order. And so, I want to take that whole story instead of just the Monday night where he sets the touchdowns record or the yardage record. I want to take the entirety of the story and just appreciate the serendipity and success that came out of it. I spent some time in New Orleans when I started in the insurance business. I was working for an agency in New Orleans, and I was there 5 days a week. And I didn't quite grasp just how different it was than Baton Rouge until I spent time there. Like, you walk around this town, it's a lot of purple and gold. I fit right in there. I didn't realize there's not as much purple and gold. The black and gold is everywhere. The Saints mean a lot to that city. And for Drew to elevate the franchise the way that he did at that point is just amazing. And this is the personal side of it, because I'm not a New Orleans resident, I'm not a New Orleans native, and I'm not a diehard Saints fan. But I do think that the second half of my life personally will involve the Saints much more than the first half of my life did. I grew up in a household of a Cowboy fan from the 60s, and the Saints were kind of on, and it just wasn't a big deal. And I moved down here, and the Saints became a bigger deal because I have a lot more friends from South Louisiana. And now I've got a wife who's from New Orleans and the North Shore that loves the black and gold. And I've got at least one boy who's eaten up with sports and is obsessed with football. Now, all he knows right now are the Tigers, and if he sees the Saints on TV, he knows to say, "Who dat?" But the Superdome was 6 hours from my house when I was growing up. It's an hour and 10 minutes now. And I feel like there's a really good chance that my kids and my wife will spend some time in the Superdome pulling for the Saints. And I'm looking very much forward to that. And I hope that great things happen. And I hope that Tyler Shuck wins more Super Bowls than Drew Brees did, plays in more Super Bowls than Drew Brees did. That will not make Tyler Shuck the next Drew Brees. I will tell my kids, this guy took a franchise that was a complete joke in a city that was in despair and created greatness and happiness and an experience that I'll remember from my college days forever. I was in that city when they won the Super Bowl. I was at F&M's. They stopped charging for drinks, just handing them out. It was fun. That's Drew Brees' legacy in New Orleans. It's not every record, every yard. It's not leading the Who Dat chant. It's not that he's going into the Saints Hall of Fame. It's not even really that he's going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The Saints have had all that before. But the set of circumstances that showed up between Katrina, that first NFC Championship game, and winning the Super Bowl, that is the Drew Brees story. And yesterday, I just grossly misspoke when I said you were trying to find the next one. There is no next one. But you're fortunate to have had the one. And I think hearing Drew talk about his relationship with the city of New Orleans was so powerful last night. And I'm glad that I got to see it in some ways, watching on TV, and then towards the end of his career, getting down to the Dome and seeing a little bit of it. Just as a football fan, watching that guy sling it was something special. He's a surgeon back behind the line of scrimmage. But the impact he had on that city, I don't know that it's truly measurable at this point. And it's well-deserved that he goes in on the first ballot, first one in the history of the New Orleans Saints. That was long-winded, Jordan. You listened to it. It's all you ever knew growing up. You don't know the pre-Brees Saints. But how'd you feel last night and about what I had to say there?
I think it's beautiful. I actually think it's really beautiful where you came from, knowing that you're from Shreveport, and I've been to Shreveport up there, and there's a lot of Cowboys fans. You would think you are in Dallas, Texas, so it really does mean a lot to see that, you know, you're accepting that. Well, I didn't say you're accepting, but you understand the impact that it has and what it does to just the people. Because, again, we were in shambles. The city was underwater, and this guy literally had. Well, I guess you want to say the Dolphins kind of, you know, threw him to the side a little bit. Then,
they took Culpepper. They didn't like his medicals.
So I guess you could say that, but still, he came to a city in shambles and rubble and just believed. Sean Payton threw him a vision, and they just believed, and you saw what it became. It just breaks my heart seeing how the story ended towards the end. Yeah. You know, just especially the Tom Brady. That I just will never get that taste out of my mouth. But just still the impact he had, and just how many people he inspired, really, though. How many people he inspired, especially the kids, knowing that it's possible that you can go from a joke to actually being legit. So, shout out Drew Brees, man. It means a lot, man. Brees is Christ.
That's him. And I just got a text from my wife, said I can't wait to take Myers to the Saints games and make him a bigger Saints fan than an LSU fan. And that is how you ruin the segment by saying something like that. Because that isn't going to happen.
Two worlds. Look. You can't.
It's 2 different days of the week.
You can't
it's
separate
Saturday
the two.
and Sunday.
Come on, exactly. You can't separate the two. They go together. It's like PB&J. Saints and LSU fan.
Speaking of LSU, let's talk to Preston Guy next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Marucci. Go check him out at Marucci. It's youth baseball season. It's youth softball season. Take the team and team building exercise. Go see Marucci. Go see where they make the official bat of Major League Baseball. They make 1,200 of them a day. It started 22 years ago. They were making just a couple in the shed in the backyard. Now, they're making over 1,000 a day. They're shipping them out to the best players in the world. It is the official bat of Major League Baseball, and you can go check out where they make them. Grab one of those bats. Get in the cage. Take those softball players. Take those baseball players. Just maybe the couple that are in your house. Maybe the whole team. Maybe just you and the family. It's an awesome experience over there at Marucci, and truly a gem that we've got here in the capital city. Go to maruccisports.com/campus-tour. It's maruccisports.com/campus-tour. You can book those tours. It comes with a 20% discount in the Hitter's House as well. So take advantage of that over at Marucci. Book those tours at maruccisports.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Want a po' boy for lunch? Swing on into Corks. Grab one of those shrimp po' boys, jumbo golden Gulf shrimp. You can also get those crispy shoestring fries, fully dressed. Go see them. Government between Foster and Jefferson. The menu's online at corksfishandshrimp.com. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, with us on Fridays talking LSU football. Preston, how we doing?
Hunt, how's it going, man?
Quite well. We heard from Lane Kiffin for the first time in I guess that would be 2 months. What'd you learn on Wednesday?
Well, I kind of confirmed the big question, I guess, was what was Sam Levitt going to look like during spring, and to kind of see a game plan where he'll participate in a kind of a 7-7 capacity. But it'll give you a good chance to get a look at that backup quarterback battle. Of course, we saw Longstreet's going to be, the big favorite there. But don't sleep on Landon Clark. I mean, he's got some talent. He can scoot around, and both these guys are young players with very, very strong arms and very good legs. So outside of that, it just was fun to hear him elaborate a little bit about LSU, and certainly kind of confirm a lot of what he said in the presentation about what makes LSU, in his words, just different. I didn't think there was necessarily anything monumental. I probably would have preferred this press conference, say like when 3 days after the portal closed, rather than on signing day where you had, I think it was 2 players that they officially signed for signing day. Would have had a little more excitement there, but at least we're getting some clarity on the team and where they stand and what his strategy was working the portal this whole time.
Do you feel any differently about Lane Kiffin today than you did on December 2nd when he took the podium?
Yeah, I do, because I spent a lot of time talking to Ole Miss insiders from early on in this process and before the sour grapes came in with these Ole Miss people. And they didn't really revere him too well as a recruiter. And all I have seen is just a Nick Saban, Ed Ogeron, pitbull mentality on the recruiting trail. I mean, showing up to Knoxville, showing up to Atlanta to get these kids, 3 of the top 5 in the portal. And now reports are coming out that LSU wasn't even the biggest spender in the portal. Certainly LSU was big, but it looks like, money and a combination of tenacious recruiting, hyped up coaching staff, and LSU being the program it is with the resources of local ties and a fairly top 10 brand on its own without those local 10, is doing a lot of work. I'll say this, the other negative scuttlebutt I got out of the Ole Miss camp was game management. I mean, there's people in Oxford who legitimately believe Lane Kiffin loses that game to Georgia in the semifinal because, they were grumbling about his crucial decision-making and going forward on 4th. So that part, that criticism I got is yet to be resolved, yet to be seen. They really do feel like in Oxford that the emergence of NIL and the emergence of Lane Kiffin's success there are no coincidence. Hard to tell because he got there in 2020 and NIL got there in 2021. We'll see at the game management part, but so far, the recruiting, I mean, he's a very tenacious recruiter, just honest feedback there.
I talked about this on my show yesterday that we don't know LSU Lane Kiffin yet. Like, we've seen Lane Kiffin for over a decade. We have a general feel for him, but like, as far as what he is at LSU, we haven't seen it yet. But I'm curious if you feel like he will change in any way operating at LSU as opposed to Ole Miss, if he views the 2 jobs differently.
Yeah, well, I think strategically, I don't know if he's going to change who he is as a person. He might start talking about how stadium size actually matters a good bit more, and they really talked about that much at Ole Miss. I will say this, it was hilarious when they asked him at Ole Miss what his ideal job is, and he basically described LSU on the podium. I guess that should have been a dead giveaway as to what was about to happen, but I would argue his recruiting strategy will probably shift a good bit, and he mentioned this in his press conference, where he's probably going to go after high school kids and probably invest some money. I think this coaching staff is very much aware. They have their fingers on the pulse of the fans, right? They're on social media. They're posting Boosie songs. They're posting neck lyrics. They are not just coaching the football team. They are wanting to assimilate and be one with the culture here, right? And I think part of that is having your pulse on social media and seeing how is the fan base going to react when the 5-star kid from up the road goes to Ohio State, right? And I think that they're going to shift and put a little more money into the high school level than they did at Oxford, because frankly, they can get these kids and ideally lock them in a little bit longer. And they understand that Louisiana talent has been the backbone of multiple championships here at LSU. It certainly hadn't been coaching consistency or administrative, organization. It's been, oh boy, that guy Jamar Chase, 60 miles from campus. He's pretty darn good. I mean, you got the best 2 wide receivers in the NFL who grew up within an hour of campus. Like, yeah, get those guys and get them on campus. I think he's going to invest a little more in the high school than he did at Ole Miss, where he relied heavily on the portal.
Let's drill down on that. I just scribbled down a bunch of notes on my paper, and these just popped to the top of my head in the last 40 seconds. But, like, of the high school kids, Louisiana kids end up at LSU. Tyree Adams, Lance Hurd, Teron Francis, Walker Howard, Deshaun Spears got in the portal and jumped out after an hour. Like, how do you feel about relying on high school kids who have shown, like, hey, if I don't play for a year or two, I'm out of here?
I feel like whoever did Damon Williams' contract, you need to get that multi-year structure in place. You know what I mean? I think that's in the NFL, you don't see guys leaving after a year because guess what their flipping contract says? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you gotta structure that out if you're paying these kids. And then there's the other hand of what if they're not developing at the rate you want, because you do have to develop these kids. That's the other big part of this. But I think there's a lot to be said for retention. I think retention is going to be very important. There are teams winning football games who don't rely on the portal every single year. Certainly Indiana did. Certainly Ole Miss did this year. Certainly Miami has. But Ohio State, most of that was high school talent. They added like about 15 players from the portal, which is a supplement. I think the days of single-digit portal guys, those are gone. You need to go to the portal every year, but hey, how about develop, retain, keep these guys happy, keep the energy good, and build off of that, And by the way, I think they went in the portal and got young guys. That's a big point of this portal class they pulled in. They pulled in young players with the intent to develop. They didn't bring Hassan Longstreet in to be a one-year assassin. So I don't know what his deal is, but I hope it's multi-years.
Yeah, and I think I wrote a piece about that. It was very interesting because there were only like 6, I think, that are out of eligibility after this year of the 43 that they pulled in.
Wow.
It's a very, very small number. The question is, can you keep them around? And the answer oftentimes lies in 2 things, winning and money. We think LSU has the money. The question is, are they going to do the winning? It's early, but like, how do you feel about that aspect of it for year one?
I'll throw in culture as well. Yeah. I mean, just a culture people want to be around, We'll see on winning. I think money, they're pretty good. It's just, when a guy is stepping up into a starting role. I mean, there's going to be other schools who look at this guy as like, I need a starting safety next year. I'm going to throw you starting safety money. Are you also willing to pay starting safety money? It's the same thing with, any employee at any job. Everybody gets an entry-level job somewhere, and they get entry-level money. Well, after a year and a half, you're no longer entry-level. You're now, entering mid-career, and someone's going to be willing to pay you that. So if you're not willing to give a pay raise to the guy on your payroll who's at the entry level, you're going to lose him because someone's going to pay him money. You know what I mean? The same concept applies here. I think they're in good position. We'll see how culture and winning plays out. That's the thing. I think this team, based off of what I see right now, the spring's going to be very eye-opening. I mean, I'm one of the few people who actually is excited to go to spring practice every year. I'm very excited to see what it is this year. But we'll get a better look as to whether they win games. I think on the surface, this is going to be a team that can contend and can beat anybody. But you also got like 4 teams that are going to be top 10 teams. You could be the 8th best team in the country and go 9-3 or 8-4 even next year. That's on the table, right? So we'll just see how all that unfolds.
I would echo your thoughts on spring football this year. My question becomes, how much are we going to get to see? Because he did not let the Ole Miss gaggle in very, very often. So that may be tough on our end, but I don't think anybody's crying for us.
I don't even know if he's doing a coaching radio show at this point. Who knows? Hopefully we don't get treated worse than the Les Miles era where we got one practice and then, all right, y'all are done for camp.
Yep. Generally speaking, if an injury happened, we got an email. All right, y'all are done. See y'all for media day. That's generally
or poor Jordy Collada, accidentally tweets out about Miles Brennan one day. Whoops.
You're
on.
All right, I got a Super Bowl pick before we let you go.
No, I don't. I have no idea, man. I mean, look, look, all the LSU guys for the Patriots, that would be awesome to see Will Campbell and Caleb Von Chaisson and Boutte do their thing, especially guys who are good players, didn't necessarily win at the level they should have at LSU, right? But, man, that Sam Darnold story is special. And then, a guy was completely wrote off. Turns out, and not just for the Jets, because everybody sucks for the Jets, but guy couldn't make it anywhere and finds a place in Minnesota, comes back, does his thing, and now he's in a flipping Super Bowl. Boy, it's two great stories. I think it's about dead even I think this is a even match, which means someone's getting blown out because, that's usually how it goes.
Enjoy the football on Sunday. Thanks, man.
All right, see you soon.
Preston Guy, TigerBait.com with us on Fridays. Friday show is brought to you by Corks. Come back. We'll hear a little bit more of that Lane Kiffin sound. We'll stick with the LSU football next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
How about Fabry Chevrolet GMC? You're looking for a truck? This is the month to do it. February is the month to do it over at Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville. Chevy Silverados up to $1,100 off MSRP or 1.9 APR financing. Looking for a GMC Sierra, gorgeous truck, up to $13,000 off of MSRP, 0.0 APR financing. That is a goose egg. If you're looking for a truck, no better spot to be than St. Francisville on Highway 61 with Fabry Chevrolet GMC. You know the Fabry family, been in business in Baton Rouge for 35 years. 3 locations, 5 brands. That includes now Fabry Chevrolet GMC. You can find the entire inventory, including those deals, online at FabryChevrolet.com or go by and see them this weekend on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. It's Fabry Chevrolet GMC at FabryChevrolet.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Shout out to the folks at Lifetime Roofing. LifetimeRoofingLA.com is the website. As of January 1st, they are so thrilled to offer you a warranty that includes both workmanship and materials for life. That's the deal at Lifetime Roofing. That warranty backed by Certainteed, one of the oldest and most trusted names in building materials. So if you're looking for a new roof, Lifetime Roofing give you that lifetime warranty. They're also thrilled that they can do professional installation of gutters. So if you're looking to put gutters on your home, Lifetime Roofing can do it. Looking to do windows and siding, Lifetime Roofing can do it as well. Obviously, a big event last week, weather-wise, in our state. If you're looking to see if you have roof damage, Lifetime Roofing is happy to come out and do that inspection. Maybe they can repair it. Maybe it's time for a new roof. Maybe it's all good. They'll let you know. You can trust the folks at Lifetime Roofing. They're a community roofing company. They're based right here in Baton Rouge, can help you out over in New Orleans, over in Lafayette. They've got a growing team. It's a wonderful group of people, and we're thrilled to represent Lifetime Roofing here. You can find them online at lifetimeroofingla.com. Get that lifetime workmanship warranty at lifetimeroofingla.com. All right, we're going to spend $100 on bets in our next segment. We're going to do that. I'm going to get you paid. I am atrocious at picking SEC football games. This is proven. We've seen it too many times.
Yeah.
I'm actually decent on the Super Bowl. I have won the last 2 years on the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay. I mean, you said $100 real confident, so you're not just wasting $100.
I'm going to spend the $100 on 4 different bets, and all of them can pay you back if any of them hit. We'll talk about them in the next segment.
Gotcha.
Love to see it. I'm sure they just put a lot of props up there on Live at Lunch earlier today. Incidentally, over at LouisianaSports.net, if you're looking for kind of some guidance on what to play for the Super Bowl on Sunday, want to just drop $20 in, drop $50 in, drop $200 in, whatever you're trying to do on the Super Bowl. We'll have a auto locks for the Super Bowl posted on Sunday over at LouisianaSports.net for free, so you can check out all of those bets. Right now, let's talk a little LSU football. Lane Kiffin met with media on Wednesday. Haven't gotten through all of it. Like, when a coach doesn't meet with the media for 2 months, there's a lot of things to cover. And we aired his press conference. It was at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, so we aired it for the first 25 minutes here on, and I just kind of talked about some of the things that he said, but I didn't have the sound because he was literally still talking while we were on the air. So now we have the sound, and I want to kind of put a little bit more together about what he said about quarterbacks. Let's start with number 2, Jordan, and how the quarterbacks are going to be handled in the spring.
Sam will be able to throw some and participate in 7-on-7 stuff in the spring, probably not the team stuff. And so I think it was, regardless, we would have done what we did, but it's also imperative to get quarterbacks, because that's going to be a lot of how your spring ball goes, which is your first time of your team feeling an offense. And our offense is very much pushed and driven by the quarterback because of the tempo piece of it. So
that's an important deal. And the tempo is something that you've got to get used to. And we've seen Lane Kiffin teams go hyper fast, especially when the ball's moving. I was watching a highlight tape of Winnie Watkins, who's transferred from Ole Miss to LSU, and he made some big plays this year. He didn't make a lot of plays because he was a little bit down on the depth chart, but he made some big plays this year. Made big plays at Oklahoma, made a big play against Tulane. He's made some big plays, and he's trained like the other wide receivers have been at Ole Miss and like they will be at LSU. You make that big play, you pop up right off the ground, you put the ball on the hash and help the official spot it, and we're getting lined up and we're going. And it's something that like you can learn the reads. That's not going to be completely new to Sam Leavitt or Huson Longstreet or really Landon Clark. Like playing football, it's about at the quarterback spot, it's about leverage, it's about anticipation, about understanding coverages, and there are only so many coverages and so many route combinations you can have. So I'm sure there'll be something new, but that part of it is something that they're familiar with. It's the speed with which you have to operate that is important, and Leavitt will miss out on some of that, but Longstreet and Clark will get that, and I think that was part of the draw to get them to campus here is that, hey, you're going to have a spring where you're going to get a lot of reps. And Kiffin talked about those two guys choosing to come in when you realize that Sam Leavitt is the very, very, very likely starter.
the other two guys, very talented players, and I think that's really maybe as anywhere the thing I'm most proud of from our GM to our personnel to our coaches department of being able to do that at the quarterback position of three guys that I think are really talented, different styles of players, and so for them, and it says a lot about them to come to the same place. But nowadays, a lot of guys don't want to do that. They want to go to where, okay, I'm guaranteed I'm going to start, and so I think it says a lot about their competitiveness.
I actually, look, whenever I go to say something like this, I put myself in the listener's shoe, and I can see you rolling your eyes at me when I disagree with Lane Kiffin about a quarterback. You're like, what would possibly give you the credential to disagree with Lane Kiffin about a quarterback? He's been a very successful football coach and play caller for 20 years, and you sit behind a microphone for 2 hours. What possibly could you disagree about? I understand that part of it. This is my observation in watching the highlights of these three guys. I don't find them to be like wildly different players. Like, they're all, I mean, Leavitt and Longstreet are taller than Clark, but they're not outliers from a size perspective. They're not big. I don't know that any of them are going to run a 4.3 40, and none of them are a 5 flat 40. They've got good athleticism, good arms, and their average height. I think that they're all three have very much are capable of running the ball. Leavitt's done that a lot at Arizona State. Longstreet is very quick on his feet. He ran for 2 touchdowns for USC last year, and Clark ran all over the place at Elon. So, like, they're all very much able to use their legs to gain yards and to extend plays. Longstreet and Leavitt are more physically gifted. You would imagine that. They're the first and second team quarterbacks. They're the guys who are Power 5 players, and Clark comes in from Elon. But he said they were all very different players, and maybe they are. Like, he knows more than I do, but I do sense that they all share some traits. And I think that's a reasonable thing to draw from. And I think they share traits with Matt Corral, with Jackson Dart, in some ways to Trinidad Chambliss. Like, they do have some of that. There's no Zach Mettenberger in the mold. There's no Jaden Daniels in the mold. They're fairly similar players, and I would put their upside right there with Dart. And I think, probably not Clark. He's a lower level player, but I think these guys can share an offense is what I'm trying to say, and I think they will. And Kiffin talked about how pleased he is with the room as a whole, realizing that when he showed up, it was empty.
really pleased about what we were able to do there because, again, like I talked about, I think a huge key is, how do you put together the whole roster in this world that's NIL, that there's a salary that's involved. And so I think one of the mistakes that's been made over time is people focus so top heavy that they go get these top players, but then they don't really do a good job of necessarily having really good evaluations of the 2s and the 3s that make your program better by how you practice, but also eventually play at times. I think the previous place you're at, there's a really good quarterback story that wasn't even there this time a year ago. And then our evaluation process of always grinding, always trying to find players, find a quarterback that, doesn't come until the summer in the second window. And that story is what it is. So that's why, as you look at this, I thought this was really critical what we did here, the quarterback position.
I agree with the first part of that 100%. Like, you have to allocate funds to the bottom of your roster and make sure that it doesn't fall off a cliff after you pay the first 20 guys. Like, absolutely. You have to do that. And that's very, very important. Trying to draw parallels to Trinidad Chambliss, I think, is dangerous because it's like I talked about when they signed Landon Clark as the first quarterback. I was like, if you want to be an LSU fan and go, well, look what he did with Trinidad Chambliss, he'll go ahead and do that with this guy. Or if you were thinking before they signed any quarterbacks, or when Sam Leavitt left town and didn't commit, excuse me, and you were like, well, okay, they didn't get Leavitt. Who cares? He just won with a D3 quarterback. Just get anybody. That's dangerous. Chambliss is an exception, not a rule, and it's a credit to Lane Kiffin to find him and help develop him and put him in position to succeed, but it's not something I want to rely on. I would rather rely on 4- and 5-star quarterbacks and Power 4 transfers than I would, well, just grab somebody from the D3 ranks, he'll be like Chambliss. That is where I completely draw the line. And not that Lane said that to a T, but he was suggesting we trust our evaluation and we think we did a good job filling out the second and third teams of our rosters. And I certainly do agree with that. So I believe LSU, as I've said many times, did as good a job in the transfer portal with quarterbacks as was possible in these circumstances. It's just very difficult to get 2 guys to sign up to sit on the bench. And they got 2 guys to sign up to sit on the bench. And in this era, at that position, that's really tough. So huge credit to Lane Kiffin. I feel good about Sam Leavitt's return from that injury. I can't swear to it because I'm not a doctor nor Sam Leavitt. But in the event that Leavitt is a little bit hampered or a little bit hobbled, just a little bit slow to return, I feel like you've done as well as you could with Longstreet and Clark of trying to fortify that quarterback room. And we'll see kind of how it shakes out moving forward into the spring and fall. All right, let's make you some money on Super Bowl props. I got them next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
First American Bank and Trust. First American Bank and Trust started up in 1910. 116 years later, still humming and growing. 25 locations throughout Southeast Louisiana. No matter where you are in Southeast Louisiana, you'll find a First American Bank and Trust. And you'll find a warm, welcoming, community-based staff right there in First American Bank and Trust. Their management averages 25 years with the bank. You know these people. You go to church with them. You see them out at dinner. Your kids play with their kids on baseball and soccer teams. And when you have a decision to be made about your commercial loan or your residential loan, who you want making that decision? Somebody in Seattle or somebody down the bayou? And when I say that, and you go, well, I mean, are you sure I want to deal with like just a mom and pop shop for my banking? Not a mom and pop shop. 25 locations, they've got what you need. So if you're a business looking for a loan, First American Bank and Trust. If you're looking for that dream home, you need a loan for that, First American Bank and Trust. All decisions made by people locally in your community. 25 locations in Southeast Louisiana. Go by and see them today. First American Bank and Trust.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Friday show is brought to you by Quartz, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Got a couple of tweets this week asking if Musso and I would do an LSU baseball preview. We filmed it this morning, 10:15 a.m. It will publish on Monday on YouTube. I think it was about 55 minutes or so. We went through the entire roster, offensively, defensively, and on the mound. So if you're looking for LSU baseball content, that's coming your way. I've got a position preview up for first base, second base, third base, left field, center field on LouisianaSports.net. Right now, we'll get into to center field coming up in our next segment to kick off hour number 2. Do right field tomorrow. And then we'll get into the pitching side of things next week. We are a week away from opening day at the box, LSU and Milwaukee from the box. Jay Johnson met with the media today. Nothing super significant today, but I'll talk a little baseball coming up in our first segment of hour number 2. All right, Super Bowl is coming up on Sunday, and this is the one day a year that I actually make a wager. I never really do it. College football Saturdays, NFL Sundays. I don't bet college hoops. I don't feel I can beat Vegas. I don't enjoy really watching games with consequential cash on the line. There are plenty of things that aren't great for me that I like to do. Gambling is not one of them. But I just think the Super Bowl, the event of it all, I like to cook and throw $100 on the game. And that's what I'll do on Sunday. So I've got 4 props here that I feel pretty good about. Jordan, you just listened to 2 hours of sports Super Bowl bets, I'm sure, on Live at Lunch.
Really.
So
don't even do 2.
let's see how this looks by your eye. So I got $100 total, and I'm going to try to capitalize on it.
Okay.
First one, I looked at the anytime touchdown odds. One jumped off the page at me, and I understand why it's there. Plus 480 because he's not a starter. But Travion Henderson gets the ball. He ran for almost 1,000 yards, 911 yards, and 9 touchdowns this year. He doesn't have a touchdown in the postseason. The Seahawks defense is great. I get all the reasons he is plus 480. Ramondre Stevenson's out there. Maybe he sprains an ankle. Maybe he busts a 60-yarder down to the 4, and he needs to come out of the game because he's tired. I think Travion Henderson plus 480, $20 to win 96. Like, I'm talking a $100 bet total on these 4 props. If Travion Henderson scores, I'm only $4 away from breaking even right there. So I like that a lot. I like Travion Henderson anytime touchdown plus 480. How do we feel about it?
I hate to say this, but Jimmy's on Ramondre Stevenson.
I'm sure he will, but the odds are shorter.
Okay.
The odds, I can get better odds.
Yeah.
Ramondre Stevenson's like 3rd on the list.
No, like they're heavy on Stevenson like the whole game.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Like they're like it's a Stevenson game.
What if he gets hurt?
Hey, you never know.
What if he gets hurt, huh? I got Travion, second back, 1,000-yard rusher, 9 touchdowns in the season. Give me plus 480 on Travion.
Okay.
All right. This one is interesting. This is about the defenses here. I like Vrabel a lot, and the Seahawks defense is ridiculously good.
Mm-hmm.
If any of the quarters in the Super Bowl, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, any of them are scoreless, plus 250.
I like that bet.
Put 50 down on that
Yes.
to win 125.
That's a good bet. It's a Super Bowl. There's going to be
Run the ball.
Yes.
Maybe a long field goal that gets missed.
Would be a slugfest.
Any quarter scoreless plus 250, $50 to win 125.
I like that.
Now, I will hedge against that with my next bet for significantly less money, but I will hedge against that if each team gets a touchdown and a field goal in each half. So both teams have to score a touchdown and a field goal in the first half and the second half.
Okay.
That's plus 1,700. $10 to win 170.
I like the hedge.
So exactly. I think there's going to be a scoreless quarter, but if we got points, might as well see if I can toss 10 to get it back on the other side. I like that one a lot. I hit this one with the Eagles, and who did the Eagles beat a couple of years ago?
The Chiefs?
Yes, I hit it on that one. So I like that one, $10 to win 170. So that's $20 on Travion Henderson, $50 on any quarter to end scoreless.
Yeah, I like that.
Then each team to get a touchdown and a field goal in both halves, $10. And then I got $20 left over.
Yes.
And I started looking around at props. And one of the things I like, I think that the Seahawks are going to win.
Okay.
I think they'll be ahead. I've got Kayshon Boutte over 30 receiving yards in the 4th quarter.
Whoa.
Patriots are down. They got to throw. Give me Kayshon over 30. That's probably 3 catches in the 4th quarter. Plus 640 on that. $20 to win $128.
You sweating. You talking about money. You are sweating your you-know-what off in the 4th quarter if you have that bet.
I mean, I'm just trying. I think that's how the game's going.
Oh, you're a thrill seeker. You're a thrill seeker.
And I wanted to get Kayshon involved. I wanted to get Kayshon involved.
You could have done like his over, and that could have been like 2 catches.
I try to get some odds here, Jordan. All of these bets basically either make your money back or more.
Like
Travion Henderson pays 96. I got 100 down. Yeah. Travion Henderson pays 96. Any quarter scoreless pays 125. The touchdown and field goal in both half pays 170. And Kayshon in the 4th quarter pays 128. So if any of them hit, I'm back.
I just think that Kayshawn one, you are sweating so hard that fourth quarter. Like, that fourth quarter, you're like, throw the ball.
If they're down, they're going to throw the ball. They don't have a choice.
But throw him the ball. You
Well,
got to get him the ball.
If they got 2 drives in the fourth quarter, they chuck it 13 times. I need 3 caught by my guy. I don't need a big play. I need 30 yards. I can get 30 yards on one play.
You're right.
But I probably
could.
need to get 3 10s.
He's a deep ball threat, so it could be all in one play, like you say. It could be
like
one
that.
play.
Hey, and even better, what if? And this is actually, I haven't thought about this, but I'm fleshing out in my mind now.
Okay.
Theoretically, the Seahawks dust them. There are people that think the Seahawks are going to blow them out, right?
It could
The
happen.
Seahawks blow them out, and they get back in like prevent because they're up 21 with 10 minutes to go.
Okay.
Well, that's easy money on Kayshawn.
It
If
is.
if you think the Seahawks are going to crush them, then 30 yards in the fourth quarter is going to be child's play. You've all been in a fantasy football game where
Sweating.
the guy you're playing against quarterback gets down by 30,
Yeah,
and you're like,
garbage time.
crap.
The Dak Prescott.
He's about to just start cooking.
The Dak Prescott.
Exactly. So that's why I like it. Give me it. Travion Henderson, anytime touchdown, any quarter to go scoreless, hedging it, each team touchdown and a field goal in both halves. Kayshawn over 30 in the fourth quarter. I mean, basically, you could put $100 on this and be rich.
I mean, hey, if that's how you feeling, that's how you feeling. I just think
I haven't walked off this set with a Friday gradable paper in 2 months, 3 months really. So
We'll see
now
on
we've got
Monday.
one. We'll be back on Monday and we'll go over my bets. And Jordan will certainly have the buzzer ready for probably all of them. But you can fade me or take him. Pause for Sports Center. We'll come back. Let's talk Derek Curiel next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Maybe watching the Super Bowl. Maybe not eating the most healthy, maybe a little bit nervous about the Super Bowl. None of that is great for the heart. I'll give you a pass on Sunday, but February is Heart Month, and the folks over at Auctioner know that it's a great time to focus on your overall health and wellness. Heart disease is the #1 cause of death for men and women, and so often it is preventable. Small, consistent habits can have a powerful impact on your health and wellness. So stay active with exercise, eat fruits, vegetables, whole grains, try to manage your stress, and get enough sleep if you possibly can. You can avoid smoking, limit your alcohol intake. These small steps can lead to a stronger heart tomorrow. Regular checkups absolutely matter. So check in, get that early detection, and get that guidance to keep you on track with a healthy heart. Look, check in with your doctors. Make sure you're on track with a healthy 2026. Auctioner's got locations throughout the state of Louisiana. Check them out online, auctioner.org.